Hello everyone, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I am going to be doing my May wrap up. So this will be talking about the books that I read in the month of May. I am out here in nature, so I don't have access to the books that I read, so I may forget some of the authors' names, but I will put the pictures of them up here, of the books up here, so you guys can, can see what they are and whose author's name is. But yeah, so let's get into it. So the first book, well, I'm going to talk about first two books that I'm going to mention actually are Beds Are for Flowers by R.K. Gold, and the second book in the series, Secrets Are for Flowers. I talked about these and I actually did in-depth reviews of both of these books, so you can go check out those videos to see what I thought about those books. Another book that I read was Ghost Wall. I heard about this book from Sean the Book Maniac. He said it wasn't that, he didn't think that it deserved to be one of the women's prize books, and so I decided to give it a try. I think this is by Sarah Moss, and I agree with him. It was just an okay book. This book is about a girl whose father is really into like ancient Britain history, and so they go out and he kind of like lives like the ancient Britons lived. And some students are coming along. He does, hey guys, I'll catch up to you guys. Actually, no, I'll just follow you guys along. I'll not follow you. Makes better sense. So yeah, so basically what happens is in the Ghost Wall, the girl is out there. She's like, her father's just really into ancient British history, and he has like these ideas about what it was like, and he feels like he's like this big expert on the subject, and so he wants to live like them. So they live like, they wear the clothes, they sleep in the house like the ancient Britons would have done. And on this particular time they're out there, they're joined by a professor and the students who are studying in ancient Britons too. And it's kind of, the story is kind of about this girl and kind of finding herself in a way, because she's been around her dominating father for so long, and meeting, should not do this while walking up steep inclines. Okay, but basically, as she starts to see how one of the girls in the groups has her independence, she starts to kind of want the independence of her own, and her father, of course, isn't really happy about that. And the mother is, unfortunately, lets the father kind of dominate her too. But for me, it was just an okay book. It wasn't like really, this didn't really hit me anywhere. It was just like, okay. But it was short. I think it was an audiobook. It was like 4 or 5 hours long. So it's not long of a book. So if you want to check it out, you can. And it's not that big of a commitment. Alright, so the next book that I finished reading was Black Leopard, Red Wolf by Marlon James. And I really wanted to like this story in this book, but I just didn't like the story or a lot of the characters. I think I only liked 2 of the characters, and both of them died. Like, I really enjoyed the world building, but the plot and some other elements of it I just didn't like. But I do think that James has crafted the worlds here that is worth exploring. I just didn't like the story that was used to explore in this book. And this book is basically about this tracker who has basically nose kind of like a wolf. He can smell things really well. He's kind of co-opted into looking for this boy who happens to be like the heir to this particular kingdom, and he meets these has to do this with a group of other people who have like abilities like a witch, kind of like a giant, and a guy who can transform into a leopard. That's just some of the people he meets along the way and has to try to help this boy. And the world building is absolutely fantastic. I really like the rich lore and the world building. I just didn't like the story or the characters that much in this book, so I didn't really like this. So I probably won't be reading the other books in this series. Another book that I read was The Dictators Handbook. I forget the name of the author off the top of my head. One of my friends suggested this to me, and really this focuses on how to get power and maintain power, both in a dictatorship and also in like a democratic society as a politician. It basically goes through the steps that you have to go through in order to maintain power, and how people have done that throughout history. And really, I mean, not really, some things were like really eye-opening, some things were pretty much like, yeah, that I know that, but some of the stuff was, you know, just kind of makes you think that politics for the most part is just all about power game, and people, once they have onto that power, just trying to maintain it. They would do almost anything to keep it. So basically this book is just about good ways that dictators and Democrats, and good as in good for you staying in power, ways of just maintaining that power. So that was an interesting book. Another one I read, I finished the Complete Persepolis. I actually finished this on the cruise that I went on. Great book. Really enjoyed her life told in this graphic novel. The struggles that she went to living in Iran under the revolutionary era when they became the Islamic Republic, and also her struggles when she went abroad, trying to find herself and who she was. Finally made it back to some civilization. That was quite a trail. So yeah, that was a really great book in my opinion. And I definitely, if you like graphic novels, even if you don't, it's well worth picking up. And it'd be a good first book to read, graphic novels, if you haven't read graphic novels before. All right, another book that I read was Monsoon Mansion. And Monsoon Mansion is basically on this another autobiography about a young girl living in the Philippines. And her family, or her mother, her family kind of falls apart at a young age, and that's due to some economic things going on. And her mother wants to kind of still hang on to the past, and she hangs on to this mansion, which throughout the story continues to fall apart, but to her mother it's a sign of kind of what she was. And it's kind of, the girl tells about her struggles being basically living in a household where her mother doesn't really care that much about her, only cares really about herself. The man that her mother ends up being with only cares about making money through the living. So she kind of has to take care of herself, find her own food, try to make ends meet on her own. She had a brother, but her brother used to go live with his father, and so she's almost alone. And she only has she kind of has to learn, transition from being like a well-pampered, spoiled, in a way spoiled girl, to having to deal with the realities of living as someone who doesn't have money anymore. And it's a really heartbreaking story at times, but definitely goes to show you the strength and resilience that she had, that she was able to come through that, and having to make peace with what happened in the past. So this was a really great book. Buddy read this with Sophie, who I know from Discord chat, and it was really good. I got this as a free book through the Kindle program that Amazon has, and so I'm glad I got to get to this book. Another book that I read was The Man from the Train by, I forget the guy's name. It's him and his daughter. They co-wrote this book. He's a sports writer, but in this book this is true crime. And basically this talks about this guy who is a serial killer. And he goes through a lot of cases that he thinks that this guy did, or we know that this guy committed. And basically this guy, his signature was basically going to a house and killing whole families with the blunt end of the axe, not the sharp end, the blunt end. And he would quickly go into the town, kill a family, jump back on the train and be gone. And his most famous murder is in Velisca. I think it's Iowa. But he goes in there, he kills, I think, 8 people in that. And the crazy thing is that for the most part, we don't think he was ever caught. And second, he was able to do this for, I think the guy postulates he did it from at least 1898 to about the start of the First World War. So he was active for quite a while. And it was just a really scary book, knowing that someone's running around the United States just axe murdering people. And since the police weren't putting it together, this guy was able to do this leave town and be gone and the police would blame someone else, like some outsider, someone who was quote unquote crazy or different. And a lot of black people were actually lynched or hanged because they got accused of his crimes. So it was really sad story and really harrowing tale about police investigations and about a lot of mishaps and things like that. So this was a really interesting book. I just picked this up on a whim and didn't expect it to be as good as it was. Yeah, so that is like the last book. I think, yeah, it's gonna be my last book because I read Miracle Creek also, but Miracle Creek I did a review for, so you can check that out too. So that's what I read in May, and I also reread Monstress because Miracle Creek and Monstress I read as part of the Asian readathon, but I didn't really do too well with my reads from that. But yeah, oh yeah, and I started the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Didn't finish it, of course, but I started it. So that is it for me. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of the day out here with my friends. I've been on this camera way too long. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostReach28, and also you can follow me on Goodreads. The link to that's down in the description box below. And as always, keep reading.